Hi, I'm Khrystyna Klimash, and we are on a podcast, Build a Digital Product, where we speak about the technologies that can boost your business here and now. And our today's guest is John Wireless. For the last 5 years, he has been the founder and CEO of Helix Wireless, an IoT company that transforms how people, businesses, and things connect with each other. They have worked and delivered their services to clients in 190 countries and have helped businesses in healthcare, energy, manufacturing, retail, logistics, security, and many others industries. Hello, John.
Hi, how are you? Happy to be here.
Happy that you connected with us regarding this opportunity. It's great that you are here today.
Sure.
So I would be happy to start our conversation from the first question. As I said in the beginning, you provide IoT services to your clients across diverse industries. Could you please describe how your prominent SmartSIM technology works and how it benefits your clients?
Yeah, for sure. No, so I mean the SmartSIM technology is key because it allows us to activate multiple SIM cards in many different countries without necessarily having to know what country it's going to, up front. So if you're thinking about how we do, how companies deploy devices, maybe it's a tablet for an airport. If you have 44 or 50 different airports that you work with internationally, you may have to ship to those locations. That would make sense. That's how you get the tablet there, right? When you're kitting the device, you're probably doing that somewhere else, maybe in America, maybe in Europe, and then you're dispersing them from there. If you have a country-specific SIM card, you have to make sure that you're marrying that SIM card to the right tablet, putting it, in the device, activating it, making sure that that's the tablet that winds up in the UK or, France or wherever it may be. Whereas with our SIM card, you simply put the SIM card in, and you're pretty much done at that point. So we've seen from time to time that just innately in itself for large scale deployments, anyone can do it once. When you do it 10, 20,000 times, that's where you open yourself up to more risk and more potential, just human error, right? So eliminating the need to have a country specific SIM card is tremendous for large deployments.
And could you please describe the story of inventing and patenting this new smart SIM technology?
Yeah, so I don't get any credit for inventing anything here, right? So it's all based on the GSM standards, which are our standards, right? So they're defined by the large companies, the MNOs, companies like Verizon and Orange, and those organizations, T-Mobile globally. They design how the technology works, which is how we know that we'll work on their networks, right? So if we went out and made our own, standard, we'd have to go build all the towers too. What we're using is a multi-tenant, profile that allows us to update it over the air, which gives us the flexibility of kind of pretending that it's a local SIM wherever it needs to be, and that's managed by our platform, which is obviously our technology, as well as the SmartSIM itself, right, which is just the piece of plastic that makes all the magic happen.
And your company, Helix Wireless, has a solo platform on board. This platform allows businesses to manage their SIM cards and related connectivity services. To make it work, you established partnerships with multiple global networks operators. And would you mind sharing your top tips for establishing collaborations with our listeners?
Yeah, I think the most important piece is really being clear with what you need and not what happens in this business, and probably a lot of other industries too. And I can't speak eloquently about those because I'm not part of them. But it's very often that somebody somewhere when they're starting up is trying to say, oh, I have 100,000 SIM cards and I need 5 million terabits of data, and that may be true, and it also may be true in 10 years, right? So if being open and honest and upfront, saying, hey, listen, this is what I need today. This is where I'm going, right? How can I partner with you to deliver the promise of a great partnership in the future? And then hearing the feedback that comes back from the other side of the table, right, is you'll hear kind of the answer to the question, and then you understand this is what I need to do to be able to go and become a good partner to this obviously much larger company, right? So as a startup in the space in 2019, you know, it wasn't easy to get big companies to want to work with us. I mean, it really wasn't, right? But being open and honest and saying, hey, listen, I can bring you this type of business and this type of revenue, and I'm going to do this type of thing for you. And then actually doing it allows you to go back to them in a positive way where they say, oh yeah, you guys actually did what you said you were going to do, as opposed to, a lot of the other folks that they wind up, hearing a very similar story in the beginning, but doesn't turn out to be, very much in the end, right? So, just being open and honest and being clear about what your expectations are, but also what your needs are too. You may need something that's kind of off sheet or something that may or may not exist in the negotiation phase, but knowing that you need that as opposed to using something else off label use, right? Where, and we see this, you'll see, someone using, a Q-tip to clean the bottom of their phone, right? Like that's probably not what it's supposed to do, right? Does it work? Yeah, it may, right? It might work, right? But being very clear, like this is what I need to clean the bottom of, 5,000 phones. I need to put 10,000 monitors underground for water monitoring, right? 10,000 sensors for water monitoring. This is what I need, right? And then this is why I need that thing, right? So being very overt and not doing things kind of behind the scenes is important.
And it leads us to my next question regarding the concerns. Maybe can you share with us the main concerns that companies have about implementing these technologies, and are they justified?
That's a big question, right? So I think all concerns that companies have are justified because they're questions that need to be answered. Do I think that the questions are very unique from what we hear? They're not. It's all the same question, right? How does it work? Why does it work? If it changes carriers, what happens? Do I lose my data connection? Right? How scalable is it? Right? It's a different flavor of those questions, but it's always those 5 questions. And then we're starting to get into security, and you say, okay, how secure is it? Right? Is my information secured? Right? What are you doing with the information, if anything? Right? And to be clear, the answers to those questions are easy for us because we don't store any of our customers' information. Right? What we want to do is we want to become the best highway to transport cellular data on globally, right? We're not looking at the data. If you're sending, if you're doing a remote patient monitoring engagement, we don't have your data, right? You have your data. You're capturing your data at, point of sale or point of entry. You're sending it to yourself on a server somewhere, right? At no point do we grab that and say, oh, let's have a peek into this, right? So we're not doing any of those things, right? So then the question really becomes fairly simple, right? Is how does it work, right? And you get one of the engineers on or a CTO and you explain it and you show it to them. And the best thing I could say is if you really want to know how it works, order a demo SIM, put it in a tablet, drive around. You'll see it change networks. You'll see it, do all the things that it's going to do in the field, in the real world, right? And it's going to happen right in front of you. And then you can ask us for the network logs and we'll send them over to you and you'll see that it's changing networks. It takes 5 seconds for that to happen or less, right? So you're not even dropping a data session usually, for most carrier changes. So.
Yes, thank you for answering. And maybe also you can share with our listeners one prominent case studies of your Helix Wireless service that completely changed the game for your client.
Yeah, I think the first one, and it's an older one, quite honestly. We've been working with JetBlue for 3 or 4 years now, and for a company in its infancy to work with a Fortune 200 company at the time, it's a tremendous opportunity for us. What we were able to do for them was to simplify how they interact with the global community. So at the time, they flew to, I think, 38 or 40 international destinations, and that required them to have 38 or 40 different agreements with local providers just to do business there, right? So we simplify their business by not only eliminating all of that contract management, procurement, right? All of the not having to ship, 50 different countries, SIM cards and all these things, right? It's a single bill, right? For all their airports, for all their tablets, for all their things that are connected, right? It's one bill. It's one point of contact to go to when you have questions or you need help. So even from training, you have a new support person coming on to their company, and that person says, "Well, when I have an issue with connectivity, who do I call?" Well, you call one number, right? It makes everything really easy, right? And it's transformational.
Last question from this section is about your recent video. You mentioned a revolutionary idea so that cars could communicate directly with each other in real time through IoT. And it really interested me how it can be. And you offered to imagine avoiding accidents because your car got a heads up from the one in front of it about a sudden breakdown. Is it really technical possible? And if so, would it mean that automotive AI will be useless? Do you have answers for my
Man,
questions?
okay. That's an easy question. So I think if we can break it down into feasibility and reality, right? It is 1,000% feasible that you can do this, right? With 5G, the networks obviously they're not there yet, but they're getting built out. With 5G, you're looking at super low latency, right? Super high amount of connections, right? So there's a lot here, right? And so if you think about how many connections a single cell tower can handle today, right, on a 4G network, right, it's less. When you get to 5G, it becomes exponentially more. I don't want to get into the numbers because they just get really big, and numbers sometimes tend to not really tell the story that we want to tell here, right? So if you could imagine a world where you have this massive amount of devices connected, and you have some of those are going to be in vehicles. If the vehicles have the capability of communicating in, sub 10 milliseconds, right? Which is really fast, right? Talking about latency, data traveling from the car to the network and back. They should be able to talk to each other. Now, there's going to be challenges here, right? The manufacturers are going to have to let that happen, right? Chevy and Ford are going to have to talk for that to happen, right? So I don't know if we look at the feasibility of it, it is feasible, but the other part of the business side of feasibility, it may or may not be something that you can, it's definitely not a fastball down the middle or a layup in basketball, right? It's definitely not going to be something that's super easy, but the technology will support it, right? We will be able to do those sorts of things, right? Because what you need is really fast, right? If you have to apply the brakes in a car, right, you have to do that really quickly, right? And you have to get that information to someone else really fast as well, right? And that's what 5G and then the future of evolution, they're talking about 6G in lab tests already today. That's what that will do.
Yeah, I really think that it could be revolutionary, this technology, if it will help, like to protect a car from car accidents. So it's
Oh yeah.
really interesting idea, I guess.
And then to get to the second part of the question, which was about AI, right? I mean, that's just a whole nother, kind of thing to kind of think about. If you really start thinking about how AI will be affected by the amount of data that it will have access to, that's tremendous, right? So if we take this part of the question outside of the question that was asked specifically about the cars, right? If we're able to educate a real artificial intelligence, right? What does it take? It takes input, it takes data. If you're able to ingest, 50 times or 80 times the amount of data, and then you can start measuring kind of decision history of the AI. Would it have done the thing that was the safest thing to do, right? And then giving it that kind of coaching and training, that becomes really interesting, to me. And I think that's probably one of the things I'm more interested to see about, we don't do AI, but I'll let those guys talk about it.
Yeah, and we can see how everything is changing because of it, and how everyone is in a rush because of AI, and lots of companies suffering, and they like people probably just don't need their services because the revolutionary AI. Yeah, so it's really game-changing technology.
I agree.
And we can switch to the flash questions. I will
Okay.
give you two options, and you need just to pick the one.
Okay. What if I don't like either of them?
You can just tell me.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question is to be an astronaut or an IoT company founder.
Well, I'd have to say be an IoT company founder. Can I expound on that or am I not allowed to?
No, you can expand, please.
Yeah, so the reason being is this is I would love to be an astronaut, right? It's not about not being an astronaut. I would love that job. But I think I'd be terrible at it, right? I would have the best time floating in space. I'd be super happy, right? Um, but I wouldn't really be able to be a part of the whole program there. I like to get sidetracked. I like to do different things. I like to do things my way. And I like to build a team. And I feel like being an astronaut, you're definitely part of a team, which is super cool. But I think my chair in the astronaut world is probably not the guy in space. He's probably the guy on ground, making sure everyone's safe, making sure we're achieving the projects and the things that we're doing. I don't think I have the right mind to do that. I think I would want to do it, right? But I wouldn't fit well.
Yeah, I think that if you are like more team player, so that's why it's better for you to be a company founder rather than astronaut.
For
Yeah,
sure.
but I've never been. That's why I couldn't, tell more about it. Uh, Next question: New Jersey or New York? It's a
New
tricky
Jersey
one.
all day. New
New
Jersey all
Jersey,
day. It's not even hard. It's not even hard.
and why?
Because New Jersey is one of the best places to be in America. I won't say in the world, but in America, right? We have great food, we have beaches, we have cities, we got it all. And if you want to visit New York, you can go and come back in the same day. You're not stuck there.
Okay, agree. And the next one: hire people based on gut or data.
I have to say gut because it's the truth. I think data becomes a part of that to help you get the gut feeling, right? Obviously, if certain jobs you have to hire on data. You're not going to hire someone to be an astronaut if they've never flown a plane, right? So you need the data there, right? But at some point, you're talking about all these people with very similar accomplishments and skill sets that you're picking from. And so at that point, if it's 10 people with the same skills, it's always a gut feeling, right? Is which one do I think is going to be the best for me? Which one is going to be the best for the team? Which was going to be fit the best in the job that we're building, not necessarily in a job that they did before.
Yeah, and I think that we can explain our choices and our decisions with data, but on the ground, on the basis of it, it always, our gut feelings. That's why it's somehow connected with how we are making this decision with everything. So I think that it's gut feelings, but we tend to think that it could be data.
I
And
agree.
yeah. So my last question from this section is living in 2014 or 2024?
2014 was great. But I do think, if I look at what we've been able to do, a lot of that has been a result of kind of the expansion of technology, which just wasn't there in 2014. And this is what I do every day. So I don't know what I would do if I was still in 2014. I'd still be working at Verizon, which was a great place to be. But when we look at where I want to be is I want to be where I'm at. I love where I'm at right now. We have a lot of exciting things happening, right? And I think the question, if you asked me 2024 or 2034, would be a much more difficult question for me to answer.
My last question from this section is 2024 or 2034?
Yeah, I mean, look, right. So 2034, it'll be really interesting to see how far we've come and what we've been able to do. So I'd be super, super curious, to kind of at least peek in there, if not have to be there the whole time, and just kind of look back. And if I could go to 2034 and then come back to 24 and make better choices, like I'm all about that, right?
Yeah. I think that lots of founders dream about it, because it's a great opportunity to gain some insights and be back with lots of the new solutions for your businesses, or some new implementation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you, John, for coming to our show today. It was
My
pleasure
pleasure.
speaking with you. Thank you one more time for accepting my invitation.
Thank you so much, Khrystyna. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for coming to our show. Hit the like and subscribe button to not skip the following episode. Bye!